So I have two questions. The first one is, what are your particular abilities, skills, or personality traits that you think have contributed the most towards building your career towards staff support engineer?
When I think about what has contributed to my career path and my success, a lot of what comes up is what I learned during grad school. So, immediately prior to joining GitLab, I worked at Carnegie Mellon University in the School of Computer Science, and I earned my master's degree in cybersecurity from the Heinz College at CMU. And I find myself drawing on lessons I learned and experiences that I gained there fairly regularly. And some of that is technical stuff. So my exposure to Kubernetes was at CMU. And that was also my introduction to infrastructure as code, but also why it is absolutely mission critical to um, harden how infrastructure as code is deployed. I also learned that some problems are not solved. Some problems are managed, they are not solved. And that is a lesson in being okay with good enough. Like it sounds not great to say, hey, that's good enough. But if it's good enough, let that be good enough, move on, focus on something else. Um, but the primary lesson that I think I took away from my time in grad school is understanding how to match a deep technical understanding with the business and financial implications. So it's not enough to just have an intimate understanding of the inner workings of a particular thing, but that has to be married with an ability to explain to a business decision maker the financial or reputational impact of solving a particular problem or deciding not to solve a particular problem. I mentioned elsewhere in this AMA that I'm an academically inclined person. So perhaps this answer is a bit predictable, but um, now that graduation is like 5 years in the rear view, I can absolutely see how useful a lot of what I learned during grad school has been to me thus far in the intervening years.
Thanks, Daniel. So, what are your particular abilities, skills, or personality traits that contributed the most to my career as staff? So, I think the biggest one by far is my development background. So, I was a senior full stack engineer before joining GitLab, and we were building a lot of bespoke web applications. So, I was no stranger to, large applications like GitLab, because as a developer, we use GitLab pretty much every day. And, being in a web developer kind of role, I was already quite comfortable with being customer facing. So, coming to GitLab support, that didn't really change, but it does give you a different appreciation of problem solving. So I think, when customers write in with a particular problem, it's quite simple for me now to just go look in the code and have a better understanding of what's going on. And then I can just translate that back to the customer and say, hey, this is happening because you haven't done this, or actually, this is a bug. So, here's a workaround that I wrote or whatever to get you on your way. So that definitely helps immensely when figuring out those types of problems. So that's a really good example of a particular ability/skill, I guess.
Yeah, hi Daniel. Well, I guess when I consider how I got to be a staff support engineer, the biggest thing that got me where I am now is luck. Getting a job at GitLab still feels like a miracle, and there were a series of events outside of my control 5 years ago in 2019 that led to it happening. Beyond that, I'd say the best approach to work that you can adopt is think about how to make the other person's life easier, whether it's a customer's engineer or their manager, someone in your team, colleague in another team, or your manager. In any interaction, do you have some information or insight that will help them, or would it be quicker for you to do something for them rather than giving them the instructions and for them to do it? Basically, it's about turning up with the solution to the problem.
Oh, okay, that's a tricky question. Very, very introspective, and similarly to how awful the promotion document writing, it also requires me to speak positively about myself. To think, okay, what particular skills, abilities, personality traits have contributed the most on my career path towards staff SE. I do think one of my strengths is my elephant brain, I guess. Like it is fairly easy for me to retain a lot of information and to recall it. I do have to mention the user contribution search tool from Martin Brimmer that I'm using. I always describe it as grep for my brain. What it does is it keeps a database of everything you write and do on GitLab. And so I often remember discussions based on unique phrases. Like I will remember, in the deprecation discussion about feature XYZ, I said meaningfully. I don't know, like something that's not super common. And then I go to the user contribution search thing, type in meaningfully, and scroll through 5 things. And one of those 5 things is actually the thing that I kind of wanted to find. So it's not just a massive galaxy brain that I have, but I do have this, I don't know, way to memorize things that then works very well with tooling to quickly find things. That is very helpful. Other than that, I guess natural leadership skills. I cringe saying it. And I don't know. I really don't want to paint myself as this amazing, great leader. You know, I picked my dentist because I can make an appointment online. I hate calling. Like I'm far from a perfect functioning adult, but I do seem to have what is often described as natural leadership skills, but that is not something it's just who I am, right? I'm not ever looking at a situation and then deciding, oh, this situation needs a leader, time to flip on my leadership skills. No, I look at a situation and think, well, this is not good. We need to change that. And if I know how to change that, then I'll go ahead and do it. And to me, that feels so natural, so normal. To me, it's weird that not everyone does that, but not everyone does that. That is actually something I had to understand over time to also really to be more able to work with people, right? Because it's important to know that, yeah, not everyone will do that. And if you have that expectation, then you're going to have a bad time. And I also want to make very clear again, I don't think that is a good or bad thing, right? It's just some people do that, some people don't. It's fine. Yeah, that has always been a thing. Back at university, I joined like the student government, was very active there. A decade ago, I became like a local hero with some of my friends from the student government because we helped with flood relief. We had super bad flooding here and organized the relief. And again, this is not like any of us looking at the situation and saying, time to turn on the leadership skills and fix this. No, we just looked at it, said, oop, that's bad. Here is our ideas what to do. And we did it. And it worked out. And that's kind of, that has always been part of my career. At my old job, that is how at my old job I convinced the team to switch from GitHub to GitLab. Like I saw, I would like to change that. I think that would be better, and I made it happen, right? And that's for sure the thing that helps me the most in advancing in my career. And luckily, it's fairly easy. It can be hard to actually do the things, right? But it's not hard for me to know the things I want to do, if that makes sense.